68 pirate boats swarmed the waters of the Arabian Sea in a direct assault on the USS Temple, a Legend-class U.S. Coast Guard cutter. The incident, which unfolded during a routine solo patrol, quickly turned into one of the most extraordinary naval encounters in recent history. Outnumbered dozens to one, the Tempest faced what seemed like certain defeat. Yet, the outcome of this confrontation would leave the world stunned. The USCGC Tempest cut a sharp white line through the calm turquoise waters of a key maritime choke point. As a Legend-class cutter, it was the largest and most advanced vessel in the U.S. Coast Guard fleet, armed with a 57mm deck gun, 50 caliber machine guns, and a highly trained crew of over 100. Its mission was presence, to be the visible hand of maritime law, to interdict narcotics, and to deter piracy. To the crew, it was another day of a long, lonely patrol, a testament to their endurance and vigilance. But in these waters, loneliness is a magnet for predators. The first alert came from the cutter's sophisticated AN/SPS-73 surface search radar. They didn't believe what they saw. The operator's voice in the Combat Information Center was laced with disbelief. "Captain, I have multiple surface contacts. I've never seen this many. Bearing 180. Count is 68 contacts. Repeat, 68 contacts. Speed 45 knots. Formation is a frontal assault wave." This was not an attack, it was an invasion. On the bridge, the captain, a hardened veteran of countless drug interdictions, raised binoculars. The southern horizon was gone. It had been replaced by a solid moving mass of fiberglass and white water, a sprawling city of hostile intent closing in at an incredible speed. And what came into view would rewrite everything they knew about risk. 68 boats. This was a coordinated act of war, a deliberate challenge to American authority funded by a powerful cartel. Their strategy was one of pure, overwhelming mass. The first wave consisted of 20 of the fastest skiffs, meant to absorb the initial defense fire and get in close. The second wave of 30 boats carried the main boarding parties, armed with ladders and grapnels. The final wave of larger mothership vessels hung back, commanding the assault. Their plan was simple: soak up the damage, get alongside, and pour hundreds of fighters onto the deck, overwhelming the crew through sheer, brutal numbers. But they didn't know what was waiting for them. On the USCGC Tempest, the general quarters alarm screamed, and the crew raced to battle stations with a grim determination. The ship was well armed for its size, but the math was apocalyptic. The 57mm gun forward roared to life, its first high-explosive shells landing amidst the lead wave. Geysers of water erupted, and 2 skiffs vanished in fireballs. But the swarm didn't even slow. It just kept coming, closing the distance with a terrifying momentum. Machine gun fire from the pirates began to ping and spark against the cutter's hull. The security team on deck returned fire with the M240s, but they were a dozen men against an army. The situation was becoming desperate. The captain knew the ship could not win a battle of attrition. A call was made. The microphone for the secure satellite comms was grabbed. A direct line not just to Coast Guard Command, but to the entire U.S. naval apparatus in the region. The message was short: Tempest Actual, Code Zulu. I say again, Code Zulu. Swarm attack, 60 plus hostile craft. Request immediate thunder. And after that radio call, everything changed. The pirates, seeing the cutter's fire unable to halt their advance, cheered. They were within 200 yards, their faces wild with victory. They believed the ship was theirs. They had no idea that their celebration had just triggered a response that would redefine the word massacre in their minds. The first sign that the world had changed was a sound unlike any other. A sound that started as a distant shriek and became an earth-shattering roar in the space of a heartbeat. An F-35C Lightning II, operating from an aircraft carrier, broke the sound barrier directly over the swarm at 1,000 feet. The sonic boom was physically devastating, a concussive hammer blow that slammed into the water. The effect was instantaneous. Dozens of the smaller skiffs were thrown sideways, their occupants sent flying into the sea. Eardrums ruptured, The pirates' radios were filled with screams of pain and confusion. Their perfect formation shattered into disarray. And just when they thought it couldn't get worse, the sonic boom was just the opening note. The jet peeled away and the sky itself seemed to open up. Two AH-1Z Viper attack helicopters descended like avenging angels, their rotor wash flattening the waves. They didn't issue warnings, they simply opened fire. Their 20mm automatic cannons began chewing the swarm into pieces. They fired precision bursts targeting engine blocks and fuel lines. Skiffs exploded one after another, creating a chain reaction of fire and shrapnel. Then, the true hammer fell. A guided missile destroyer that had been lurking over the horizon launched its final solution. From its vertical launch systems, a volley of SM-6 missiles screamed skyward. But these were not set for air targets. Their advanced seekers acquired the larger pirate mothership vessels at the rear of the swarm. The missiles descended in their terminal phase, striking with the force of a freight train. The mothership vessels didn't just sink, they vaporized into colossal fireballs that sent shockwaves across the entire battlefield. The pirates' charge had been transformed in minutes from a certain victory into a frantic, hopeless scramble for survival. There was no escape. The Vipers continued their methodical slaughter, hunting down any boat that tried to flee. If you think there was mercy coming next, think again. The sea was a cauldron of fire, black smoke, and screaming men. The Tempest's crew, moments before facing certain death, now watched in stunned silence as an entire pirate fleet was systematically erased from existence around them. The massacre was absolute, a display of raw, uncompromising power. When the last boat was sunk and the last gun fell silent, the sudden quiet was deafening. The water was a grotesque soup of burning debris, oil, and bodies. The captain got back on the radio, voice steady. "Destroyer actual, this is the Tempest. The threat is neutralized. We are commencing search and rescue for survivors." The response was immediate. "Negative, Tempest. Negative on SAR. Our orders are to let the sea have them. Let the message be clear. No quarter, no prisoners. Let every pirate on this coast see the price of this arrogance." The few pirates who survived clung to wreckage, watching as the American ships, the cutter that had been their prey, and the destroyer that had been their doom, turned and sailed away, leaving them to the mercy of the sharks and the waves. And what the cutters left behind would become a warning heard for years. There would be no prisoners, no trials, no propaganda victories. There would only be the enduring, terrifying legend of the day 68 boats charged the U.S. vessel and were met with a response so brutal, so final, that it would echo as a warning for generations. What unfolded that day wasn't a battle, but it was a warning. 68 pirate boats went out hunting a single U.S. cutter, and instead vanished into fire, steel, and silence. No survivors were taken, no statements were issued, just wreckage drifting in the current, and a message written in oil and blood across the sea. Challenge the United States here, and you will not come back. For the crew of the Tempest, it was survival. For the cartels who funded the Armada, it was a catastrophe. And for every pirate watching from the coast, it was proof that the ocean has rules, and rules enforced with absolute finality.